Hello, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to continue factoring. Factoring, the secret of algebra. We're going to be doing a lot of factoring for the next several years. And today we begin to learn how to factor trinomials, a great trick, so that we can solve equations. It's just the beginning. A quadratic equation means you have x squared. This is standard form, ax squared plus bx plus c. C is going to be a constant. We are going to be able to solve equations like this. How about that? That means we need to be able to factor quadratics. Quadratics, again, means you have x squared in your equation. And we're going to be finding two binomials. You've practiced multiplying binomials to get a trinomial. Now we're going to go the other direction. We're going to factor trinomials to get two binomials. A factored trinomial will no longer have an exponent higher than 1. Our binomial will have x to the first power. There are several types of trinomials. This is the normal type, the basic type. There's a 1 in front of x squared. You have x squared plus bx plus c. This is the one we're going to be focusing on today, when the leading coefficient is 1. Now, if you learn the tricks, you can do this even faster. But it will take a little time to learn the tricks. There are some trinomials called perfect square trinomials. They look like this. A plus b quantity squared means we have written a plus b times a plus b and FOILed it. And then we've gotten a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. Or if we started with a minus b squared and FOILed it, we would get a squared minus 2ab plus b squared. So that's one of the things we're going to be on the lookout for, is perfect square trinomials. This is why we memorize, one of the reasons we memorize perfect squares up to 20. The other one, and this one, is really important and it occurs a lot. This is called the difference of squares, trinomial. If you see two perfect squares with a minus sign between them, you immediately know it's going to factor like this. The square root of x squared, we write that at the beginning of each binomial. The square root of a squared, we write at the end of each binomial, and one gets a plus sign and one gets a minus sign. All right, so that's one of the ones that we're going to be looking for because we're going to see it a lot. All right. Here are the steps we're going to follow to factor a trinomial. We're going to look at the leading coefficient. Is it a 1? If there is a 1 there, we're going to ask ourselves what I call the question. The question is, what two numbers multiply to get C and add to get B? That's the question we're going to ask ourselves. Just wait till we get to a specific one and it'll be a little easier to remember. All right, so we're going to choose the pair that works. And then we're going to write our two binomials. We're going to put one of each of the first variable in the front, whatever letter they're using. X is often the letter in the trinomial, but it doesn't have to be x. It can be any letter. And then we're going to put the two numbers in the back. Number here, number here. And then we have to decide which sign goes with which number. We can always check by multiplying the binomials together. All right, let's see how it works. Here is the trinomial x squared minus 12x plus 20. So I'm going to ask myself the question, and I want to hear you ask this question out loud. What two numbers multiply to get 20 and add to get negative 12? Well, if an answer doesn't come to you right away, you can make a table. A table of factors that multiply to get 20. And I always start with 1, 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5, and that's it. It's got to be one of those pairs. All right, so here's the question again. What two numbers multiply to get 20 and add to get negative 12? Well, which two numbers can add to get negative 12? 2 and 10 can add up to get negative 12 because negative 2 plus negative 10 equals negative 12. And negative 2 times negative 10 equals positive 20. There's our answer. So I'm going to write my two binomials. I'm going to have an x in the front of each one. I'm going to have a negative 2 in one of them and a negative 10 in the other one. And look at that. I just factored that trinomial. X minus 2 times x minus 10. If I FOIL it to find out if I did it correctly, x times x is x squared. X times negative 10 is negative 10x. Negative 2 times x is negative 2x. And negative 2 times negative 10 is positive 20. The two middle terms add together, and I get x squared minus 12x plus 20, and that's what I started with. That's how you factor a trinomial. Here's your you try. Remember to ask yourself the question out loud. What will the question be in this case? What two numbers multiply to get 12 and add to get 8? Yes, that's the question. All right, here's another example. X squared plus 18x plus 81. What is the question? Question is, what two numbers multiply to get positive 81 and add to get positive 18? Well, my first thought is 81 is a perfect square because I've got all the perfect squares memorized. And the perfect square is 9 times 9. And for that matter, 9 plus 9 is 18. How about that? So I'm going to write my two binomials. X goes in the front of each one. 9 times 9 is 81. 9 plus 9 is 18. So positive 9 and positive 9 do the trick. And I just factored another trinomial. Here's your you try. Remember to ask yourself the question. Say it out loud. I'm going to ask to hear it in class, so get used to it. And here's the last one. Oh dear, this one has two terms, but if I look carefully, x squared is a perfect square. 16 is a perfect square. There is a minus sign between them. I know the pattern. The square root of x squared is x, so x goes in the front of each binomial. The square root of 16 is 4, so 4 goes in the back of each binomial. And I put a plus sign in one and a minus sign in the other, and there we go. I just factored x squared minus 16. Now you can see why it's so important to have those perfect squares memorized. Here's your you try. Is 49 a perfect square? Is there a minus sign? Little clue there. And that's it. We're going to practice this a lot. We are going to practice this a lot. See you in class.